Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Ali. I'm here with Maslen Hips. What'd you do, Maz?
I got third place at the Toronto Regional with Pure Canine.
Pure Canine. Very interesting. What do you think about the deck, this format?
To be honest, I went home for the winter break. This was the only deck I had, so kind of forced to play it. But I do think it's okay into the format. It just feels like a little bit of a weaker version of all the canine variants. But it does play on a slightly different axis than them, so it can play around more stuff, in my opinion.
Awesome. Well, take a look at this third place list.
All right. I'll start off with the non-engine because that's about half the deck. We play 3 Molcharmi Fuelos because going second is the best card. 3 Ash Blossom, very generic hand trap, also to stop the chummies. 3 Droll and Lockbird for Mitsuyami, VS K9, other decks. 3 Ghost Spell for decks like Malice, Draco Tail, Yummy as well. Another pretty generic hand trap. And then for some 2 of hand traps, playing 2 Nibiru. This is because it was a card that I didn't want to necessarily draw in multiples because we play so much non-engine that most of the time you might not even need the Nibiru. It's mainly there as a card that you can draw into off the Molcharmies. And then I also play 2 Imperm. The reasoning for this was a 3rd Nibiru and a Talents, but I found that I wanted more cards game 1 that were more generic into decks like Lunalight or Draco Tail to stop the fusion or to stop Lukia's normal summon, stuff like that. So I decided to put 2 of these in as well because Talents came up a lot of times where I would open Talents and then have 0 plays, so Talents was just rotting in my hand. I'll be completely honest, this deck is not super consistent. It lacks a lot of starters, so a lot of times you will just be playing very low to the ground. Sometimes you'll just pass going first and pray your opponent plays into your Azuna. And then lastly, for the non-engine hand traps, we have just Called By, stop hand traps, also good against decks like Draco Tail, stop 5 mana.
Looks good. So it's 18 non-engine.
Something like that.
18 generic non-engine.
Yeah, 18 generic
not including
yeah.
Izuna.
And then obviously we have triple Azuna and the 1 Lupus. It might seem a bit strange that Pure Canine is only playing 1 Lupus, but again, this deck isn't super consistent. You want as many cards as possible to be live, and Lupus against every deck that isn't Mitsuyami isn't very useful to have in your opening hand. So I don't really see a reason to play more than 1.
And the reason you'd like Lupus against Mitsuyami is because of
Typhon. Yeah, you can make Typhon on your opponent's turn, which is untargetable. But that's really the only reason. I never found myself really needing the second Lupus. Like, if you play correctly, you should never be getting into a situation where the Lupus is getting banished. And if it was getting banished, it was probably because you were in a losing position anyways.
Makes sense.
Now, after the real starters of the deck, we play triple Naroi. So Naroi and Case are the only 1-card starters in the whole deck, but they're also the most fragile. But this card just gets you to everything. Plays around Droll as well, which is very nice. This deck doesn't really play into any of the high impact hand traps like Molcharmi and Droll, because you can play very low to the ground, only summon once or twice from the extra deck, or you make Ripper before you make your first search. So that's one plus about this deck. Then obviously we have triple Joko. I feel like every game I open this card plus another level 5, I won. It just plays around way too many hand traps, super strong. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets hit on the ban list. And unlike other canine variants, I'm on double Lantern. The reason for this being is that you will guarantee yourself follow-up in this deck via the second Lantern, because you will make the second Ripper on your turn 3, in order to get the second copy, which will let you practically OTK your opponent. It also comes up where this can be basically another copy of Jokul. You just normal summon it, search Case, and then Case will search for your Jokul. So it can also be a starter card if you're really down bad. Then obviously to search any of the canine names, play triple Case of Canine. This is a no-brainer. Gets you into practically everything. And then we also play triple Chaotic Elements because it is more copies of Jokul. It is also more copies of Lantern when you need extension. And it adding back from the graveyard is also very important because I usually side out one Lantern going second. And sometimes you actually need the second Lantern, which Chaotic Elements can basically replace that because you can add the Lantern from the graveyard.
Did the second effect ever come up for you?
The pop effect, there was one time where I did threaten to pop a card because I had 3 of Jokul or Lantern in the grave, but the Snatch Steal effect unfortunately never came up. Never came up in any sort of testing or local before either. I think any decks that play these sort of typings either never leave it on the field, or decks like Rise Healer is kind of out of the format.
Right.
For extra consistency, I played 1 Prosperity. This deck, it's very flexible in the extra deck. So when you Prosperity, you're usually just getting rid of a lot of these flex spots, which will kind of limit you, but I'd rather be limited in decisions than not being able to make any decisions at all.
Makes sense.
And now for the, I guess you could call it spice, but it's more so I'm broke and I don't have tachyons. So we're playing 1 Dream Shark and 1 Small World.
Interesting.
So let me explain the Dream Shark. So some people might have seen Disablaster, the Negation Fortress, as an option in K9 decks, which is a light machine pendulum that can special itself for free. But the reason why I'm playing Dream Shark is because it makes all the Small World bridges much simpler. For one thing, it is a water, so it doesn't conflict with any of the K9 attributes. It's a fish, which doesn't conflict with any of the K9 types, unlike Disablaster, which is a machine, because Naroi is also a machine. And the most important part of Dream Shark is that it has 0 attack. So you can bridge through it through all of the low attack hand traps like Ash Blossom, Veiler, which is in my side, Bell, Droll, etc. But the reason for playing one Small World is just 1 extra starter, but I didn't want to play multiple because it is by far the worst starter card in the deck because it requires you to banish specifically a monster, which sometimes can be really detrimental compared to something like Tachyon, which can put back any card.
So 1 and 1, and that makes the complete deck list how many cards?
40, but there is still two more engine requirements that you must play. Obviously, we have the card most people know, Force Release, the Quick Play. But along with that, I also play a second target that you always end on, and that is K9 EW, Special Release Experiment. So what this card does is, it's not super strong. It gets better next set in Burst Protocol with a new XYZ. But what it can do is, it summons a K9 from your hand or grave, and then you can immediately XC summon on top of it. So it's nothing crazy, but it means you get access to Jax and Werewolf on your opponent's turn. It also has a graveyard effect where during the end phase you can banish it to target a K9 Quick Play in your graveyard to reset it, which is very important for follow-up because you will use this effect during your opponent's end phase to reset Force Release. So then your first action in your main phase will be to target one of the XYZs that is sitting on your field to make the second Ripper, to search for your second Lantern, and then you go from there. So that's the main deck, clean 40. Honestly, if I could play less than 40 cards, probably would, so you can actually open starters, but sometimes you get lucky, like I did at the regional.
Put those upstarts in there.
Put those upstarts, yeah, 37 cards.
Yeah.
So continuing on to the extra deck, we play Double Ripper, because as I said, you'll make 1 on your first turn, and you want the second one for the follow-up. Sometimes it does happen where you will use the Ripper Negate to negate a hand trap on your first turn, and then you make the second Ripper immediately, so you will have it live to begin with for your opponent's turn before using Force Release or anything else. Then we play 1 Jax, which is the reason why you play the trap, because it lets you make this. So on summon, or if your opponent activates a card effect in hand or grave, you can detach a material to target a face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. It also has a second effect where if it is material under a K9 XYZ and your opponent has activated a card effect in hand or grave, the monster who has it as material deals double battle damage, which does come up because Werewolf can attack multiple times, so you can swing for it's basically Trident Dragon in Tempi. For the last rank 5, I opted to play the Hound, which did come up a couple times. It's very important to help force Zeus because if you make it with Lupus, it is indestructible by battle or card effects to turn it to summon, and your opponent can't target it. So you just swing into anything, make Zeus, clear the board. It did also come up where I made this against Dracotail because they had a Key 2 set, and I used the trap card to summon it in the draw phase. So during the standby phase, its banish effect would trigger to get rid of the Key 2.
Awesome.
And then lastly, for the last K9 XYZ, I am playing one copy of the Werewolf. This is pretty much your OTK enabler most of the time because it can attack as many times as it has material. And the hand rip effect, when you're playing so many hand traps, is really useful because you get hand knowledge if you didn't use Neroy's effect already, as well as getting rid of maybe the one card that maybe your specific hand trap won't stop. So that's it for the K9 XYZs. Moving on to the more flex options, we played the one Valon, which most people know, Book of Moon. When it gets sent to the grave, you can pop a set card. One Durandal, which I put in the night before because I was afraid of losing to specific back row, like for example, Talents or maybe a Mitsurugi Ritual. So it does come up where, for example, if they use Saji to search Mitsurugi Ritual in the graveyard, you can activate Azuna to make this. And since you will have back row set 99% of the time in the quick play in the trap card, when they activate the Mitsurugi Ritual, you can chain Durandal to change the effect. And that way they don't get Murakumo out and just blow up your whole board.
Awesome.
Now, for one of the funny cards that most people didn't expect, I played Wind Up Arsenal Zenmayo. This is for the Dracotail matchup because what it can do, you detach a material to target 2 set cards in the field and destroy them both. So what you can do against Dracotail is during their main phase, you can Izuna into Lupus into this card, and then you summon it in defense if need be. But in fact, you usually summon an attack because you will activate the effect, keep the Lupus as material, destroy both their back row, and then you can go battle phase if they have a defense position monster, and then make Zeus. So it forces out a lot of interaction just off one card, and I made this card multiple times, I think in every Dracotail matchup I played today. And then another very important package is the Nash Knight package. So we have Nash Knight, CXYZ Nash Knight, number 104, and the C104. So C104 is a regular part of your end board because of the negate and hand rip effect. Also because on summon it destroys a spell trap on the field. So most of the time you are popping your own case to get the quick play, while Lantern will be searching the trap card. So this is very integral part of the deck. If you do not own C104, I would not recommend picking up this deck at all, although it is getting reprinted soon, so if you are interested in playing this deck, don't feel too bad. You should be able to play it soon. And then for the last few cards, we have the one Typhon, because you can make it with Lupus, and this is a low ceiling deck, so sometimes you can just make normal summon a hand trap, make Typhon, try to out some of their threats, and then try to just survive with hand traps. One Zeus clears the whole board. Card is still crazy even years after its original printing. And then just the one Link Monster, SP. Sometimes you have lingering bodies, or if you need to just get rid of a threat on the field of grave, SP is there, just kind of a last resort. I never made it today. Not today, sorry, at the regional. I'm pretty sure I summoned every card in my extra deck at the regional except for the SP. So I would still play it just in case you need it, but the extra deck felt very solid for me.
So you mentioned your standard board. So what's kind of an example of a blind going first board you'd make?
So if you start with normal summon Noroi, for example, your end board will frequently be C104 with 104 as material, so it is live. You will have Ripper on the field with his negate live, and then you will also have both the trap card and the quick play set. So on your opponent's turn, you will have Ripper negate, C104 negate, force release pop to summon a different XYZ, for example the Werewolf. You will have the trap card to summon another XYZ like the Jax, and then you have like the Werewolf negate, you have like the Jax pop, Werewolf hand rip. So it's like a decent amount of disruptions, but let's not forget that you're playing around 20 non-engine, So you should also have multiple other non-engine pieces to back it up. So your opponent usually can't play through this.
And you do end on the Azuna in hand on top as well.
Yes, Azuna is 99% of the time already in your hand by searching it. So that will also be live, so you can make something like Valon, Durandal, and other things.
It's a lot of disruptions.
Yeah, it looks very weak, but if you get your full end board, it is around like 6-7 interruptions.
6-7. Oh no.
My apologies.
That's terrible.
So moving on to the side deck, we have triple Retaliating Sea for Draco Tail. I mean, this card was great. This deck doesn't care too much about the graveyard. It's just Lantern, really, and Lupus. But if my opponent can't use the graveyard, they're probably in a worse position than I am. So this card did also come up where it turned off my Draco Tail opponent's Sting and their Fallen Virtuous. And then I made Zenmayo and destroyed both of those before they got a chance to use it. So that's another reason why Zenmayo is very nice to have.
Zenmayo the GOAT.
Zenmayo is indeed the GOAT. Then I play triple Phantasme. This might seem a little strange, but compared to the Chummies, I find Phantasme to be more useful in this deck a lot of the time because it draws you 2 cards instantaneously, which when you're playing a lot of hand traps, I find that when you activate a Chummy, you might draw into the hand trap that you need too late, while Phantasme lets you dig deeper faster.
Pause. Okay.
But another reason is the targeting protection is also very strong because this deck can be a little fragile. So your opponent has to get rid of this before they can really interact with your plays like normal summon to Roy. Also, a body is just nice because it's another way that you could make SP on top of certain things.
Yeah.
Then, because I was a little afraid of Malice, and just for side pattern reasons, I opted to play 2 Lancias. Want to see it sometimes, but not all the time. Not all the time.
Did you see Malice at the weekend?
I did not see any Malice, but I did see Lunalight, and I did end up siding this in. I did not see it, but luckily we won anyways, so it's okay.
So it's all good.
Then I used to be playing triple Dark Ruler No More in the deck, and then I realized I had 6 cards to side out against Draco Tail, but only 3 cards to put in. So for that reason, I decided to play 2 Veilers and 1 Dimension Shifter. The reason for Veiler over the 3rd Imperm and 1 Veiler was because I wanted to have my side deck to be as flexible as possible. So in situations where maybe I side in Phantasme as well as Veiler, if I Phantasme, I don't draw into an Imperm and then I can't use it. I'd be drawing into a Veiler that can be usable.
Makes sense.
And these cards did come up for me. I did side in Veiler against Draco Tail, and I did see the Veiler, and it helped me stop their normal summon Lucius, which helped me win the game with it. I did not see the Criminal at all.
The Criminal. Should be banned.
Should be banned for sure. But I did not see it today, so I didn't have to rely on
Ethical top.
Very ethical. Ethical duelist.
Ethical duelist.
And then the 3rd Nibiru. Just in case, I play against a deck that really dies in Nibiru.
Like DDD with your Imperm Nib.
I did play against DDD, and I opened Imperm Nibiru. That's another reason why Veiler is nice, because you open Veiler Nibiru, Imperm Nibiru, plays around most things. And then for the last 3 cards, I have 3 1-ups for going first. 1 Anti-Spell, 1 Iron Thunder, and 1 Judgment. The Iron Thunder is simply because Judgment is at 1. I would not play this card if Judgment was at multiple copies.
Shout out Pan Shang Li. Iron Thunder.
Iron Thunder's biggest glazer. But the Iron Thunders he uses, they aren't even his. So anyone who
They're not
knows
even
him,
his.
he doesn't own any of his cards.
Nope, he doesn't. We love him though.
But anyways, that was the deck list. Smooth 15 cards in the extra inside, 40 cards in the main. I don't know what else to say. I guess shoutouts. As always, shout out to Ali behind the camera.
Thank
shout
you.
out to everyone in Markham, locals, Derpy Cards, 3 Kingdoms Games, the people from Ottawa that came to the regional, James, Pan Chang Lee. I'm probably missing some other people, but
you know who you are. If
yeah,
we forgot you
definitely
know who you are.
Shout out to Jack Tao, Mac.
Goes.
Shout out to Luke for always supplying me with Riftbound cards.
Riftbound. We switching to Riftbound.
We switching to Riftbound.
We're not though.
But if you're picking up this deck, I would ask you to be patient with it because it is not super consistent. So try to be, you know, more calm if you don't open super crazy hands, you know. But other than that, I guess, thank you for watching.
All right, congrats on your top, and we'll see you next time at your next regional top. See you soon.